Greetings, ladies and managers, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called First Contact Was a Rescue, written by SpeedHump23. A very young Frey Ash had been stooching around a small solar system on the cold edge of the galaxy, scooping hydrogen from a Zell-class systems gas giant, when he detected the transmissions. After a quick detour, we came across the ship. It was bleeding gases and broadcasting radio across all spectrums. Scans showed a micrometeoroid had punctured the rear half of the ship. It was a simple repair job for his droids. Luckily, the rules for first contact were well written, so he was allowed to help a spacefaring race. In the time it took his scanners to do their read of the damage, Ash's computers had analyzed and translated the languages in the stricken ship's databanks. It was odd. Zell-class systems rarely had space capabilities. Captain Locke was surprised when the message came through. At first, he thought that it might be the Yanks or the Chinese ships wanted to chat again. The X-2056 space race had been a world popular event. The rules were simple. Build a ship capable of getting from Mars orbit to the asteroid belt and back after grabbing a sample from Ceres, Vesta, and Hygeia. The first ship to collect the sample and return to Earth would win the SpaceX 2 prize. The Scottish entry, Comet 2, had used the solar sails and Ion 3 boosters to get an early lead, accelerating to their max speed towards Vesta. After a month of acceleration, Locke's ship had turned round for the slow-down burn. A smart chemical rocket was being used to help give the Ions a hand, as the sun was not likely to move to the other side of the solar system, just to allow the solar sails to work. It was just as the speed had started to drop that the micrometeor had hit the ship. The auto systems had blown the booster off and away from the ships as soon as the computers had detected the issue, saving the ship from breaking apart. Realistically, the chances that one of the other ships would be able to do anything was almost non-existent. While they were required to be able to assist others if needed, the rules had not really been enforced. Locke had sent a message to his family back towards the Phobos tracking station and started to work the problems. Having grown up in an RAF family, Locke knew all the stories about long-distance sailors and astronauts who had only themselves and their on-board gear to fix their problems. Sadly, he quickly came to the conclusion that no amount of gaffer tape would allow him to get his Ion 3 drive working again, and without a chemical engine, last seen heading up from the elliptical, it would not matter. The sail and ion drives were good for slow, steady acceleration, but the chemical engine was used to help the deceleration needed for the approach to the asteroid. The two-part drive would then be able to be used on a return trip as well. After a few hours of checking, Locke noticed a flashing light on his comm board, an incoming signal. He had already heard the message from the X-2056 Space Race Committee. They were looking to see what could be done. From a fast burner probe loaded with extra rockets to seeing if any of the other ships were able to assist. So far, they were working on it. The other ships in the race had all checked in, offering what they could, and his wife even had time to send a message. No one else was due to contact him for the next few hours. So, who was talking? The voice which came over the radio was obviously a computer-generated one, but the surprising thing was when he responded, the answer came back seconds later. "Damaged ship, are you in need of assistance?" The return of the Comet 2 to Mars was news across the system. The story of the Scottish spaceship being towed back to the space station by a small freighter piloted by an alien being named Frey-ish would be taught in history books across the Terran system for decades to come. The alien, who was invited to the Scottish lands owned by Captain Locke's family to spend a few weeks in the Highlands as a way to say thanks, also made the news. It seemed that Frey-ish loved the history of the Highlands, and even grew to appreciate the sounds of bagpipes, although he had been startled the first evening he heard the piper. The first contact opened the human system to the galaxy and spurred trade and technological advancements. The galaxy's various peoples had been amazed that sentience had evolved on a third planet, having classed it as a death world many millennia ago, and had avoided it since then. It was only that Frey Ash had been scoping hydrogen to refuel his engines that he had been there to hear the distress call. Humanity would go on a spread across the sector of the galaxy, providing a rather unique Deathworlder's view on many problems. These ideas, generated and then sold by the humans, would enable them to buy their way up the civilization ladder and secure their place in their selected systems. This allowed the quality of life in the human-held systems to grow to be above the dreams of many of the visiting races. All were welcome as long as they came in friendship. Being such a successful race did attract a few of the less savory races or organizations in the quadrant. Many thought these newly discovered beings would be pushover and would be enslaved before there could be a response from their patrons. These same patrons soon learned that the humans were able to defend themselves. Using weapons and tactics most attackers would not believe such a young race would have developed to date. Captain Locke's family stayed in space. His descendants continued to join the various arms of the United Kingdom, or later on, the Kingdom of Scotland's navies and marine forces. The family of Frey Ash invested their discovery and rescue bounties well, buying a small system in a down-Spinwood cluster, building the system into a great resource and holiday destination. Well, it was never a rich system. After a few hundred years, Freysh and his family were living a comfortable life. The raiders attacked the main city in the night. Their ships took out the space station and solar light mirrors before Freysh could even get out of his bed. The years were starting to take their toll on his frame. Even though his species lived for many hundreds of years at a time, his had been full, and his joints ached. Looking at the readouts and the forces dropping towards their planet, he realized that they were in trouble. A message was sent off, but the cost of defending such a small system from a group of pirates was mostly out of the range of a planet like theirs. The galaxy was a tough place, and rescuing a small ship was nothing compared to dedicating space, air, and ground forces to defeat pirates. A local week after the pirates had landed and started to enslave the family and their workers, Freyesh was looking out a small window in his cell. The pirates had kept him alive to force his family to comply, but were starting to get angry at the continued resistance to their new rule. Just then, Freyesh saw a flash in the sky as something shot through the sky towards the spaceport where he'd been placed. The pirates' defense systems did not engage it, as they seemed to think that it was just a meteor. As soon as the meteor hit the ground outside the spaceport, the noise began. Freyesh heard the sound and started to laugh. His captors came to his cell to demand to know what the sound was, but he was laughing too much to answer. They grabbed one of his daughters and demanded to know what the sound was and what it meant. Freyesh listened for a moment and started to laugh as well. "Oh, you're all dead, but you might just survive if you surrender now. It was way past time to run." The leader of the pirates was no pushover. She had claimed a dozen planets for her group and was wanted in too many systems to count on even her 4 hands. Looking at the eyes of the girl in front of her, she was startled to see the conviction in her captive's eyes. "What do you mean? Why would we be scared of a sound?" Frey Hughes looked at the pirate. "If memory serves, the music is Scotland the Brave, which has been looping a few times. But Dad always told me once, Caber Fay starts to play, you're screwed." Just then, the music stopped. The pirate leader looked at Frey Hughes. "Ha! The music has stopped. It was nothing. You bluff." Just then, the music started again, and Frey Ash started to smile. "I know this tune." The defensive guns on the grounded pirate ship started to turn towards the sky. Then particle beams started to rain down and cleanly pick off the pirate ships and any pirates caught in the open. Some pirates panicked and tried to run, but none of the ships made it off planet. Any pirate caught outside was killed by surgical particle beam shot from a ship too far up to even be seen with the naked eye. The Marine detachment, which landed at the spaceport, negotiated the surrender of the last hold-up pirates, on the grounds that none of their prisoners were harmed. Freyesh was assisted outside to meet the officer in charge. "Sir, Captain Samantha Lockrint is at your service. Glad that your people are okay." Freyesh looked at the force arrayed before him, in parade lines, as if they were ready to meet a primary planet's leader. not some second-rate resort planet's owner. The Marine Pipers were working through their best themes, reminding Freyish of his time in the Highlands. Captain, we cannot thank you enough for this aid, but I must ask, why? Sir, I'm a Marine and Scottish. We never forget a debt of honor. Happy to help. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.